So students, now we learn about the indexed activities from the lesson chemical reactions. So activity 1.1, the question asked or the activity that is in the 1.1 is what happens when a magnesium ribbon is burnt in a china dish. So what happens when magnesium ribbon is burnt in the presence of oxygen in a china dish? So we can see that when magnesium ribbon is burned in the presence of atmospheric oxygen, it gives rise to magnesium oxide. So you can see that it is not a balanced equation, so you need to make it balanced. So you can see that what do you observe, that magnesium ribbon burns and it gives rise to a white ash. So it gives rise to a white ash which is known as magnesium oxide. So we'll see in observation that magnesium ribbon burns spontaneously because it is highly reactive and it comes under the reactivity series of metals and non-metals, and you can see that white ash gets deposited. So you can see that magnesium is solid, oxygen is a gas. So magnesium oxide formed is also solid and it is a white colored ash. So you can see that magnesium ribbon burns spontaneously and white ash deposits in the china dish, which is known as magnesium oxide. So how will you give the explanation for it? Magnesium ribbon is highly reactive and when it comes in contact with atmospheric oxygen, it forms white ash. Which is known as magnesium oxide, and also with the liberation of lot of energy. So it is highly reactive as magnesium oxide that is formed as white ash, and magnesium when in the presence of oxygen it burns immediately, it burns like a cracker and it is very highly reactive and very much caution to be taken when this experiment is conducted. So next we will go with the second activity. So what did we understand from the first activity? When magnesium ribbon is burnt in the presence of atmospheric oxygen, it gives rise to white ash in the china dish. Why white ash is given? Because it reacts with the atmospheric oxygen and it releases or it gives out a lot of energy. So next activity 1.2. So activity is related to lead nitrate. Reaction with potassium iodide. So here we'll take both as an aqueous solution, lead nitrate also aqueous solution, and potassium nitrate, potassium iodide also as aqueous solution. So what is the procedure here? So here we have taken lead nitrate and potassium iodide. We have mixed it in water, that makes it an aqueous solution. So lead nitrate aqueous solution is separated and potassium iodide is a separate solution we have taken. Then we mix it together, lead nitrate and potassium iodide. So on reaction of lead nitrate with potassium iodide gives rise to an yellow precipitate. So how we can explain it? By stating that lead nitrate and so here in this activity we can see that lead nitrate and potassium iodide, they are two different reactants. So we can see that lead will displace potassium and it forms lead iodide, and potassium displaces lead with nitrate to form potassium nitrate solution, which is aqueous in nature. So it is double displacement reaction. So here we can see that once the reactants react together and forms the product formed is potassium iodide, which is not soluble in the solution that is formed after the product and you can see that yellow precipitate is formed, and whatever the solution that is formed later is potassium nitrate solution. So actually this we can write it in the form of equation that PbNO3 twice. So it is PbNO3 is lead nitrate plus what is the other one that is given as potassium iodide. Potassium iodide gives rise to, what does it become? Lead iodide, that is PbI plus potassium nitrate, that is KNO3. So actually whenever a reactant, two reactants or one or more reactants are given, from the reactant itself we can find out from the what type of reaction it is, and we can come to know that what the product it would form. Here we can see that lead nitrate when in aqueous form. You need to mention it, either it is solid, liquid, gas or aqueous form. Aqueous, and this is also aqueous. When this was mixed together, it formed a double displacement reaction and it formed lead iodide, what is yellow precipitate, and potassium nitrate is the solution in liquid, that is aqueous form. So we will see next activity 1.3 from the textbook. So reaction of zinc with dilute acid. So we have already seen that a metal plus acid gives rise to salt plus release of gas plus lot of heat. So gases are involved and a lot of heat. So you can see that any acid you can take, either most of the times we take it as HCl or H2SO4 as the acid. So we'll just write the equation now. If you are taking zinc as the metal given here, Zn plus acid, if we take HCl, gives rise to, you can see that there is a metal, hydrogen is a gas, again it is a halogen. So you can see it is single displacement. So hydrogen is getting displaced and zinc displaces hydrogen and combines with chlorine from zinc chloride, ZnCl2. So it is single displacement reaction. Plus, what is the gas that is here? That is hydrogen, and a lot of heat is released. So we have taken an acid here. So acid should not be strong, it should be dilute acid. So you can see that now if we take Zn plus H2SO4. So it is the same way here. It is a single displacement reaction. So this is the first, you can underline it as second, this is third. So hydrogen is getting displaced here, zinc sulfate plus again what is the gas that is released? It is hydrogen in both the cases when it is an acid, and a lot of heat is liberated. So you can see that what gas is released when reaction of zinc with a dilute acid. You can see that hydrogen is the gas evolved. So we'll draw the diagram for it. It's just a rough diagram. You should note down from the textbook. Once the textbook you have got it. So this is an important diagram as per the exam point of view, wherein zinc is reacted with dilute sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid. It means the same, but the products are different. You can see that here in the test tube you have added some of the zinc granules, and you have added along with zinc granules dilute sulfuric acid. Previously itself we had written the equation, that is zinc granules plus H2SO4. So yes, you have added here, this becomes your reactant, and you need to see that the hydrogen gas that is coming out from the reaction that is in progress, that goes through this delivery tube and it reaches to the beaker or a tub that is containing soap solution. So how will you understand that there is a presence of hydrogen gas, or the hydrogen gas is liberated from this test tube? So you need to conduct a small test for it. So your delivery tube is connected to the soap solution. To the tip of the delivery tube is the soap solution, wherein you can see that the hydrogen gas gets collected in the soap solution and it forms a bubble here, and in the form of bubbles it is released. And when you bring a candle to test, so if a question is asked, test for presence of hydrogen gas, you should give this answer that when you bring a candle, a lighted candle, near this gas that has been released from the reaction of zinc and hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid, you can hear a pop sound. A pop sound that indicates the presence of hydrogen gas. So here the same equation, ZnSO4 plus H2, and a lot of heat and energy is liberated, that is Zn plus H2SO4 gives rise to ZnSO4 plus H2 plus heat. This is also a single displacement reaction. Here in the activity 1.3 we have seen that the test for hydrogen gas. Next we will see the test for the presence of carbon dioxide. So you can see that 1.4 activity, quicklime reaction with water. Quicklime reaction with water. So what do you mean by quicklime? Quicklime is also known as calcium oxide. So you can see that when calcium oxide reacts with water, what happens is, what we need to understand here, what reaction might happen here. So you can see that for our own understanding, we will draw a small diagram here again, just for the understanding. So you have a beaker that is filled with water and calcium oxide. So in the types of reaction we had already seen that what happens here, calcium oxide and water together gives rise to solid and liquid calcium hydroxide solution, that is aqueous, plus a lot of heat. So what type of reaction is it? It is known as also combination reaction. So this CaOH twice is also known as calcium hydroxide. So when you add calcium oxide inside the water, a lot of heat is produced, which is also known as exothermic reaction. Exothermic reaction. So what are its applications? You can see that we are using it for whitewashing of our walls. Whitewashing of our walls, wherein you need to whitewash with a slate lime and leave it for 2 or 3 days. So it converts into calcium carbonate and water. So CaOH from this product, CaOH twice, which is also known as slaked lime, when it combines with carbon dioxide. So here we have seen that I had already told that how will you test for the presence of carbon dioxide. So now we can see that calcium hydroxide or slaked lime when combines with carbon dioxide gives rise to calcium carbonate plus water. So this is liquid, this is solid, here again is gas and it is aqueous solution. So now you might be wondering from where calcium hydroxide came. So from the activity 1.4 we had seen that quicklime when reacts with water gives rise to calcium hydroxide. That is an aqueous solution and you can see that it produces a lot of heat. When calcium hydroxide, it can be used in whitewashing of your walls of the house, whitewashing of walls of your house. So after whitewashing, what happens here? You leave it for exposed to carbon dioxide or atmospheric carbon dioxide. It combines, that slaked lime combines with carbon dioxide gas. It gives rise to calcium carbonate and releases water. So how will you say that there is a presence of carbon dioxide? So carbon dioxide, to test the presence of carbon dioxide, you need to pass the carbon dioxide gas through a lime water. So think this is lime water. You have set an apparatus wherein carbon dioxide is passed through it. And you can see that this lime water turns milky. If lime water turns milky, then you can say that test for presence of carbon dioxide. So one application is that we will be using it like a slaked lime in the whitewashing. The second is in the respiration. We can see that we humans also respire and also animals. So we absorb in oxygen and release out carbon dioxide. So blow air from the mouth into slaked lime. So you can see that what is that test we have seen that you will blow air from the mouth, carbon dioxide to slaked lime, and it forms a precipitate here at the bottom, and it forms CaCO3, that is calcium carbonate. It forms calcium carbonate, and also it is used for test for presence of carbon dioxide. So you can see that when you breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe into the beaker containing slaked lime. This carbon dioxide and slaked lime combine together and it forms a precipitate, that is insoluble matter at the bottom of the test tube or a beaker, and it forms calcium carbonate, which is solid in nature. This itself gives the presence of carbon dioxide. This is the other way of testing the presence of carbon dioxide. So next activity.